I, 28-year-old female, love to bake, and I will often make cakes and other treats for my friends. Since I met my in-laws in 2018, I started making cakes for them as well. Recently, my sister-in-law asked me to bake her daughter's birthday cake for her upcoming birthday this weekend. She made the request back in October, and we discussed the details of the cake at length. Although I have made cakes for her before, this is my first time doing it as her official sister-in-law, and it made me feel like I'm truly part of the family. 3 days ago, while I was out grocery shopping, I bumped into a family friend of my in-laws. Unfortunately, this person is not someone I like very much. She's known for spreading gossip and seems to take pleasure in being malicious when talking about others. I usually try to be polite to everyone, and normally I avoid talking to her. However, she stopped me and went out of her way to ask me when my husband and I are planning to have kids. Then, she brought up the fact that I am a foster kid and was born out of an affair. She framed it as genuine concern, but it was obvious that she was being intrusive and cruel. She told me that my in-laws and sister-in-law were worried about our future children not having anyone. When my husband came home from work, I told him about the encounter, and I was very upset. It may seem trivial, but I felt like his family betrayed my trust by sharing my personal history, even though I explicitly asked them not to. I don't want everyone who knows me to be aware of this part of my life. My husband confronted his parents and sister about it, but they argued that they only mentioned it to a few close circle people, and they defended their actions when my husband told them it was not okay. My sister-in-law even insinuated that people would find out eventually, so my husband asked her how they would find out if we never told anyone. To provide some context, my parents were both married to other people and had children with their respective spouses when they began an affair and I was conceived. Both sets of their first children were technically adults or close to it by the time I was born. The day before my 5th birthday, we were involved in a car accident. Unfortunately, both of my parents and the people in the other car died. I was the only survivor, and I had to stay in the hospital for a few weeks following the accident. Neither side of my parents' families wanted me, so I ended up being raised in foster care for the rest of my life. I never had the chance to find a family. After hearing what my sister-in-law said, and witnessing how unapologetic they all were, and how little they seemed to care about the pain they caused me, I asked if I could speak with my sister-in-law privately. I told her that she shouldn't expect a cake from me after disregarding my wishes and showing so little consideration for the harm it caused me. She reacted strongly and said that the birthday party was only 3 days away. Thankfully, my husband supported me and said it didn't matter. My sister-in-law and our parents bombarded my husband's phone with calls and messages to the point that he had to block them. Now, I'm concerned that I may be in the wrong for saying no with such short notice. Am I the a-hole? AR. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. What a horrible thing to do to you and then to not be apologetic. Your in-laws can never make it up to you for giving a vicious gossip access to your personal history. Maybe they did not directly tell her, but they did tell someone who told her, which they were specifically asked not to do, and you and your husband will suffer from being the butt of this gossip from now on. You have every reason to be outraged and to refuse to make nice here. Short notice be damned. 3 days is enough time for your sister-in-law to order a generic supermarket cake with her daughter's name piped on it. Daughter is 3, she won't care who made it. Comment 2. They can easily order a grocery cake with her name on it in icing, with as little as 2 days' notice. I have done it before. If they aren't organised enough for that, they can get a generic grocery cake with 1 day's notice. Not only did they spread your private information around after you asked them not to, they weren't even apologetic afterward. I'm so sorry. Now you know that you cannot tell these people anything private at all, as they are incapable of discretion. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, back with an update on the cake drama with my in-laws. It's been a tense 3 days, and I've got to tell you, things took some unexpected turns. So, after I told my sister-in-law that I wouldn't be making the cake, she was furious. She tried to guilt-trip me by saying that her daughter was looking forward to the cake I promised. I felt terrible about the situation with my niece, but I couldn't just let my sister-in-law's behavior slide. My husband and I had a long talk about boundaries and how we needed to stand our ground. He was completely on my side, which was a huge relief. The next day, my phone was blowing up with messages from my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law. They were trying to apologize, but it felt more like they were sorry they got caught rather than sorry for hurting me. I didn't respond because I needed some space to cool off. Now here's where things get really juicy. My husband's cousin, who's always been super supportive of us, reached out. She told us that she overheard my mother-in-law talking about my personal history at a family gathering a while back. She was disgusted by their behavior and offered to help in any way she could. It felt good to know we weren't alone in this. On the second day, my husband and I decided to go out for a nice dinner to take our minds off the family drama. We were just finishing up when who walks into the restaurant but my sister-in-law and her husband. It was like a scene straight out of a movie. They came over to our table, and my sister-in-law started crying, saying she didn't mean to hurt me and that she was stressed about the party planning. Her husband chimed in, saying that family should stick together. I was skeptical, but my husband suggested we all sit down and talk it out. We spent the next hour hashing things out. They admitted they were wrong to share my personal information and promised to respect our privacy in the future. My sister-in-law also apologized for putting me on the spot with the cake. But here's the kicker. Reddit, my sister-in-law's husband, who's a bit of a hotshot lawyer, said he'd heard about a bakery that could whip up a custom cake in no time. He offered to pay for it as a way to make amends. I was hesitant, but my niece shouldn't have to suffer because of her mom's mistake, so I agreed. Today, the day of the party, we showed up with the store-bought cake. It was actually pretty impressive, and my niece loved it. The party was a bit awkward at first, but as the day went on, things started to feel more normal. My sister-in-law pulled me aside and thanked me for coming. She said she learned a valuable lesson about respecting other people's boundaries. As for the family friend who started all this, she wasn't at the party. I heard from the cousin that she's been put on an information diet by the rest of the family. Seems like they finally understood the importance of keeping private things private. Parents have 2 bio kids, 4 adopted kids, and 7 foster kids over the years, but they never gave me anything while they gave my siblings everything. Now they want me to pay for my sister's surgery. Oh boy, they are in for a surprise. I, 17-year-old male, am the oldest kid in my family. My parents have 2 biological kids, me and my 12-year-old sister, and they adopted my 4 other siblings. I had dozens of foster siblings over the years as well. My parents have struggled to make time and have the money for all of us. It has meant a lot of sacrificing, mostly on my part. My parents were able to make sure all my younger siblings had at least one activity outside of school to do, but they never did that for me. I was forced to play football when I was 5, but by the time I was 7, my parents had started fostering and I was no longer doing that. My siblings all get to do something they like. For example, Cora does dance. Some of my other siblings are in music classes. The younger kids were also prioritized with school field trips, so they always got to go, while I haven't since I was 6. The last time I asked was when I was about 9, and my parents told me to work for the money to pay. My grandparents found out what they said and gave me the money, and my parents took it off me to use for the household. My grandparents were so mad at them for that. They delayed my tonsil surgery by 2 years because they prioritized 2 foster kids and 2 of my siblings' surgeries over mine. My grandparents saw how much I was getting the short end of everything with my parents, and they set up a college fund for me. It's a lot of money and really caught me off guard. My parents know about it but cannot access it. They only know because of a fight with my grandparents over the lack of saving for my future, when they have saved something for my siblings. My parents said the money my grandparents saved should be divided equally, because $350,000 is a lot to save for one grandchild when you have multiple. That money is still there, and I have plans for it. But my youngest sister is 5, and she needs a pretty major stomach surgery. She's had a lot of health troubles since her birth, and my parents have paid a lot of money on her medical expenses. They were told this surgery could turn her life around and give her a chance at living with less pain and stomach complications. It could give her a more normal childhood, because she can't do a lot. They don't have the money for the surgery, and they want me to give them the money to pay for it and for the expenses afterward. They said they need $270,000 for the whole thing, and maybe they can give some of it back. But they might need even more if things get more complicated. I told them they can't have that money, and they lost it and told me I was being selfish. I argued back that they take from me all the time. I asked why they didn't take the money they saved for all my siblings and use that. Why does it have to be mine? They said I am putting college before my sister's future and accused me of being unwilling because she's my sister through adoption and not my biological sister. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I call nonsense on your parents needing to pay a lot of money on medical costs for a special needs adopted child. My understanding is the state will provide a certain amount of money each month in cash and pay for insurance. My adopted parents only received medical insurance for me. I didn't fall under special needs. I think they are lying to you. I would have an honest conversation with your grandparents and see about moving in with them as soon as possible. How your parents are treating you is not okay. You deserve better than that. Comment 2. I'm pretty sure most states cover adopted kids' medical expenses. If she is still a foster, then it's 100% covered. Hospitals have charity care for these situations. Also, your parents have to have health insurance to be able to adopt this many kids. No state would allow them to be adopted without access to medical care. You are not the only option. I think they are using your sister as an excuse to get money. If anything, you can offer to pay the doctors directly. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since I posted about my family situation and my sister's surgery. I've got some updates for you, and let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster. First off, I had a long talk with my grandparents about everything. They've always been my rock, and they reminded me of the time when I was 10, and they took me on a trip to the Science Museum because my parents couldn't afford it. They've seen how things have been for me growing up, and they were pretty upset when I told them about my parents wanting to use my college fund for my sister's surgery. Now, here's where things get crazy. My parents sat me down and apologized for calling me selfish. They said they were stressed and took it out on me. But then, they dropped a bombshell. They told me they had been secretly saving money for emergencies, but they had to use a chunk of it last year when our house needed urgent repairs after a storm. They didn't want to worry us kids, so they kept it quiet. I was shocked. I mean, I knew money was tight, but I didn't know about any secret savings. It made me see things a little differently, knowing they were trying to handle things without burdening us. But here's the twist. My sister Cora, the one who does dance, overheard our conversation. She's always been more perceptive than she lets on. She came to me later, tears in her eyes, and told me she wanted to help. She had been saving her allowance and birthday money for years, hoping to go on a big dance trip. She handed me her piggy bank and said she wanted to give it to our sister for the surgery. I was floored. Cora's only 12, and she was willing to give up her dream for our sister. It was a moment that really hit me hard. So, I made a decision. I told my parents I would cover the cost of the surgery, but under a few conditions. I wanted them to take financial planning classes, and I wanted a written agreement about paying back the money into the fund, even if it took years. They agreed, and we're moving forward with the surgery. But here's the bittersweet part. I had to contact the college I was planning to attend and defer my admission. I won't be going this fall. It hurts, but seeing my little sister smile when she heard the news made it feel worth it. In the meantime, I've decided to get a job and start saving up again. My grandparents are proud of me, and they've promised to help out however they can. It's not the path I thought I'd be on, but I'm hopeful for the future. And as for my relationship with my parents, it's still a work in progress. They've started their financial classes, and I can see they're trying. It's going to take time to rebuild some of that trust, but we're taking it one step at a time. Roommate's GF gets pregnant and asks if she can move in with me. I tell her no, and she starts staying over more often. Then I give her BF an ultimatum. Oh boy, she confesses baby might not be his. I, 28-year-old, live in an apartment that I got from my uncle. The apartment has 2 bedrooms, so as I don't need the extra space, I rented a room. My roommate, 24-year-old, has been living with me for a little over a year and a half. He's been dating his girlfriend, also 24 years old, I believe, for like 5 or so years. She lives in another house and has 4 roommates herself. As her house is more crowded, my roommate asked me if it was okay if she stayed over sometimes. I agreed, since I don't really have a problem with it, as long as they're respectful. We haven't had any major issues until now, but his girlfriend got pregnant. He told me and I was like, oh great, congratulations. He did try to bring up a conversation to see if I allowed her to move in with him/us, but I said no. I work from home most of the time, and I don't want to deal with a third person or a newborn in the future. He asked me if she could still come and stay some nights as before, and I said that was fine. She's like 4 or so months along in her pregnancy. Well, these last 3 months, she has grown to be very annoying whenever she's staying over. What I mean is that I got woken up in the middle of the night/early morning too many times because she's running to the bathroom at the end of the hallway. I don't use that bathroom. I have my own connected to my room, but my guests sometimes use it, and they have said that it's dirty and messy. She's staying over a lot more nights than she used to before. And the biggest problem is that she has developed really bad nausea. Even now, she's still having morning sickness, which I believe should have stopped already. We've had many issues regarding food because my roommate and she asked me to stop having some foods that make her sick. I told her that this is not her house. She has no right to come and expect me to change my diet because of her. They took that very badly. I continued my life as normal. She always complains and runs to the bathroom when I cook. There have been a couple of times when she has actually thrown up on the floor too, which is disgusting. I'm sick of it, to be honest. So I told my roommate that either she stops coming over, she stops complaining, or he moves out. I would give him a month or 2 if he needs it to find somewhere else to live. But I'm tired of having his girlfriend over. She's annoying me. Of course, he got very upset and said that she wouldn't annoy me so much if I was more understanding of her condition. He said that they're not in a comfortable position to move, that she's sick and needs his support, and all of that. Some of my friends, co-workers, and family are on my side, but some others said that I'm behaving like a total jerk, and I could easily change my diet for a couple of months. Am I the idiot? Edit. You all are right. I need to evict him. It sucks because even though we're not friends, he was a good roommate and all, but it's too risky to have him here when the baby is born. Hopefully, they can find somewhere else to live. I'll try to have the conversation with him today. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. She doesn't live there. And you've made it clear you don't want an infant in the house since you work from home. While I do agree, you might be a little more accommodating while she's there, your roommate and his girlfriend need to move into their own space to prepare for a baby. They made a choice to get pregnant and stay pregnant, so they need to adult up and prepare for bringing another life into this world that they will need to support. I was going to say, everyone sucks here until she threw up on the floor multiple times. That's nasty. While I know you can't control morning sickness, she should be able to make it to a bathroom sink garbage can to throw up. Comment 2. Consult a lawyer. There are definitely protections in place regarding housing discrimination for having a child. It's his child. This can be the baby's primary residence. Even if she doesn't move in, find out your rights sooner rather than later regarding not re-signing his lease or whatever, and if it would be easier before the baby. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. I wanted to give you an update on the situation with my roommate, his girlfriend, and the whole pregnancy ordeal. It's been a hectic 3 days since I last posted, and things have taken some unexpected turns. So, after I decided to evict my roommate, I sat him down to have the conversation. I was prepared for him to be upset, but he was surprisingly calm. He said he understood my point of view and would start looking for a new place immediately. I felt a bit relieved, thinking maybe this would go smoother than I expected. But here's where it gets crazy. The next day, I came home from a quick grocery run to find my roommate's girlfriend in the living room, crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she dropped a bomb on me. She confessed that she wasn't sure if the baby was actually my roommate's. Apparently, she had a brief fling with one of her own roommates around the time she got pregnant. I was floored. I didn't know what to say. My roommate walked in on this confession, and the look on his face was something I'll never forget. He was heartbroken, angry, and confused all at once. They had a huge argument right there in my living room, and I felt like I was watching a drama unfold in real life. During their fight, it came out that my roommate had been planning to propose to her. He had been saving up for a ring and everything. He thought they were going to be a family, and now all of that was in question. I felt bad for the guy. He really did love her. After she left, my roommate didn't say much. He just went to his room and closed the door. I could hear him moving stuff around, and I realized he was packing. The next morning, he told me he was going to stay with a friend while he figured things out. He apologized for everything and said he'd get his stuff out as soon as he could. But wait, there's more. Later that day, I got a knock on my door. It was one of the girlfriend's roommates, the one she had the fling with. He came to apologize for the drama and to explain his side of the story. He felt guilty about the whole situation and wanted to make things right. He also mentioned that he was planning to help support the girlfriend, regardless of who the father was. I couldn't believe the mess that had unfolded in just a couple of days. My quiet apartment life had turned into a soap opera. I told the guy I appreciated him coming by, but that it wasn't really my business. I just wanted to get back to my normal life. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.